Breaktime, a podcast presented by the Prescott-Russell Employment Services Center, welcomes Meadow Donnelly, recipient of the Job Succession Scholarship, university student and volunteer, to discuss her career path in healthcare, her attachment to her hometown, and the importance of staying true to your beliefs. Meadow, welcome to Breaktime. You're here today because you were recently awarded the Job Succession Scholarship from the Employment Services Center. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So before we get into that, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Russell, Ontario, and that's where I went to high school.
Okay. And the Job Succession Scholarship, if I'm understanding this properly, is basically it's basically financial incentive to try and keep the young workforce local, right? And when did you apply for it? Did you or did someone do it for you?
I applied myself. I'll have trouble remembering dates exactly, but I believe it was early in 2021, probably around February or March, that I initially applied. So it was a written application.
Okay. And why did you do it? Did you know you were going to try and come back and work locally? Was that always your plan? And so you stumbled upon this and said, wow, that's perfect. That was always the goal?
Yeah, so I think that for myself, I always was interested in this scholarship, even throughout high school before I could apply, because that's something that I'm very passionate about, is returning to Prescott-Russell. So I thought that the scholarship fit very well with my interests, my pre-existing interests, and therefore it just made sense to apply.
Oh, why was that always important to you?
I think I'm a pretty community-oriented person. I'm generally quite involved and like I feel sustained when I'm with others that I know and I'm contributing. So I thought that it would make sense that in my professional career, I'm doing the same thing. So it just made sense.
Why is it important to you to come back to Prescott-Russell? And I think that's an important question because, I mean, I'll take myself as an example. When I was 18, I left for Ottawa. And at that point, I can't say it was an objective for me to ever come back, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd say, like, it really depends on the person. And I'm always very much interested in hearing about people that want to go leave for studies, get stronger, more acquire knowledge, and then come back and bring it back here. So why did that motivate you?
Yeah, so I think that myself, like most teenagers too, want that sort of like sense of freedom and like escape my hometown, sort of in a sense, and
Right.
go off and learn new things. Like it's exciting. But myself, I feel like in addition to that, I also feel very connected to like my roots, where I came from. That might sound a bit cliche. And I thought like, just if I'm getting all of this in my bucket of things that I can do and my learning, my knowledge, my ability, skill, there's no community, sorry, that would feel more fitting to really contribute with those services because I'm already connected to them. So
Mm-hmm.
it just naturally makes sense to me.
Why do you think you're so connected? What is Russell to you? What's your hometown to you? What was it like growing up there?
Um, Russell was a very comfortable place for me to grow up. I'm trying to think, my educators, for example, I feel very connected to them. And I live so close to everybody. I could just walk around and hang out with my friends after school. My jobs were mostly in Prescott-Russell, if not all, except for my placements, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I think every aspect of my like adolescent growing life was really rooted there, and that's why I feel personal attachment to it. I'm not sure why I feel so strongly connected other than that.
That scholarship you got, that's something you get at the end of high school, right?
Um, the So the scholarship, it's a $5,000 scholarship,
Yeah.
and the total amount will actually be deposited after university
Okay.
as a way to guarantee that I will actually return
Mm-hmm.
to Prescott-Russell in whatever capacity to work there. But there are like financial incentives each year. For instance, if I came back next summer
Mm-hmm.
to work in Prescott-Russell, I'd be given a $500 bonus from the 5,000.
Okay.
So each summer that I return, 5,000 from the pot will come to me. But if I can't come back, for students, traveling farther away for school, for example, I still have access to the scholarship just after my undergraduate degree if I return.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so it's really really focused on how much you're coming back. And
Yes.
what's your field? What are you studying now and where?
I'm studying health sciences at Queen's University. So it's a Bachelor of Health Sciences degree.
And what's your goal
My
career
goal is to
wise?
become a doctor. Yeah,
Oh, medical doctor.
exactly.
All right.
Yeah, I'd
So
like to go to medical school.
all right, you're in it for the long haul.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how did that happen? How did that become a goal for you?
um, well, I knew from a young age, like a self-reflective age of probably 12, 13, that I like being with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, maybe I'll make a job out of this. But more seriously, I think my mom, being a nurse, had a large influence on me because she would come home and tell me stories, tell me about her work day, and I was always enthralled. It just blew me away. So, yeah, I think that's definitely my main influence.
So if I understand the timeline correctly, you began high school with that path in mind.
Yeah, it was an option early on. I wasn't set on it until after the placement. The placement was my tool for really confirming with myself if that was something I wanted to commit to for a long time. So,
Okay, explain to me what placement is in your context.
yeah. So I did a co-op placement, which is just like a work study placement that's unpaid at the Montfort Hospital, which is in Ottawa. So I worked in two different ways. Firstly, I was matched with an emergency psychiatrist
Oh wow.
who I, yeah, would do rounds with and attend to appointments and stuff like that, kind of like a shadower. And then the second portion was me doing a lot of like bedside table manner type work on the sixth floor, which was rehabilitation. So I'd speak to a lot of patients, I'd make their beds. And I think my job really was to be a morale booster because I had no technical skill, but I could talk to people. So that's what I did.
That's an important job. We often hear about bedside manner in medical
Mhm.
professionals, right? And
Yeah.
it's that's not really something I believe school can teach someone that
Mm.
well.
Yeah.
You got it or you don't. So for you, that was
Mhm.
actually one of the entry points. What I mean, obviously, doing that is easy. It comes naturally for you, right? You're a
Mhm.
people person. You've said so before.
Yeah.
Still, what challenges were there doing that? Any memorable experience? You don't have to name names or anything, but
Yeah.
anything that really stayed with you?
Absolutely. So, someone comes to mind right away when you say that. I'll say his name is George for the purposes of this, but
Fine.
he was an elderly man who got a knee replacement on the sixth floor. And so I would just kind of like wander in and out of rooms and talk to people and kind of transiently just like enter and leave as I pleased. But with him, he started a conversation with me. He was this sweet older man, and as I began talking to him, I was very much attached to his like style of speaking. He was obviously way wise beyond my years,
Hmm.
and he began sharing with me his stories as like a military pilot and his life and the woman that he loved, who recently passed away at the time, so 5 months prior to his admission to the hospital. And I sat on his bed and listened to him speak about, the love of his life. And I started crying because he told me that he didn't feel any, urge to live. He didn't see why why there was a point to
Mhm.
after she left. She passed of cancer early on. And this just kind of blew my mind in a lot of ways. I was in the 10th grade and it was a lot. Um,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what to say to him. And I thought, wow, this is not easy. This is really not easy. These are real people. They're not just room numbers. Each one has their own story, and it's kind of mind blowing if you think about,
Yeah.
you know, the vulnerability that you're dealing with every day.
Yeah, it's a lot for a young mind to process. And when I say
Mm-hmm.
young mind, I'm not thinking of any specific age here. Just his has gone through a lot,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, right? And when you reach a point where you you draw conclusions like that, it can mean so many things. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question to you is, since you've already done that at a young age, you've learned, you were pleasantly surprised or even mildly shocked by conversations. What is your trick to deal with it and, just keep wanting to do this?
Um, so it doesn't feel like a job to me, and
Okay.
I can't tell you why it doesn't, but it doesn't feel like a job on like a more specific level when I'm talking with people, and sometimes it's difficult or it's uncomfortable because of the sensitivity level, and it can go from 0 to 100. I learned pretty fast. I think um, where I used to want to fill in those silenced gaps, those uncomfortable gaps with words, because I'm an efficient speaker. I decided to just lay off the words and just listen, because first of all, I didn't know what to say. I don't know what to say to a man whose wife passed away 5 years ago and he has like 70 years over me. I don't know what to say to that man. And second of all, I don't think he even wants me to say anything at all. I think he just wants to be listened to. So I think that that's kind of my technique for getting by
Yeah,
with people in that way.
that's a good idea. It's a good technique. I find it very wise because by not actively participating in it as much, uh, you're not making it yours as much, and I don't think you should.
Exactly.
Right. I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I read somewhere this great line once that said that people that were quick to give advice in a conversation were people that wanted to get out of the conversation as soon as possible. So
Hmm.
to stay silent in a way and keep listening is a great form of respect. So yeah, good for
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask. Again, I'll be referencing myself here, but I kind of figured out what I wanted to do in life at the start of my 30s. So it happened pretty late. And you basically started high school with a great idea in mind and a path that
Hmm.
was starting to form in front of you. So, how did you approach high school, knowing this, having a goal in mind, knowing what you wanted to do? What was it like for you? You start high school. What did you choose or put in place that was going to help you? How did you start that?
Okay. So high school was an interesting place for me to start, the journey of thinking about it. Although I wasn't sure that I wanted to do medicine until halfway through high school. I think that just general involvement was actually very helpful. Involvement that wouldn't seem like it made sense for the medical field. But for example, I was in band. I played trumpet for 3 years in
Wow.
jazz band and senior band, and I loved it. And I loved connecting to people that way. And there's lots of overlaps. I mean, performing for tons of people is stressful. So you can learn how to overcome that stress. You can connect with people who frustrate you, who you love. So lots of learning experiences there. More specifically to medicine, though, the co-op placement and the specialist wellness. I'm trying to remember the name, but there's a special seal on my diploma, my high school diploma, that basically says I have a concentration in health sciences
Hmm.
because I took a few extra little courses and
Okay.
this and that's as I went along, some certifications. So I think all of that kind of helped me, bring together my little portfolio in high school and keep me motivated towards that goal. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I always try to bring a little doctor into my life, so it still feels real and it doesn't feel like I'm just doing 16 hours a day of this for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What what were the academic challenges, if any, for you in high school? Since you're heading into health sciences, I mean, that
Mhm.
means a certain amount of high school classes are pretty much picked for you. Um, any unanticipated challenges?
Well, specifically physics.
Yeah,
Physics sucks.
yeah,
Um,
that's it's hard. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. My brain just isn't like oriented towards enjoying it. I can do it, but it takes a lot more effort and strength than like more life sciencey counterparts.
Yeah.
So, and I think, another addition to that is school's online for me. Like the most important years of my
Oh
high school were
man.
online for me. So let's not even talk about what I came to university with in terms of like basis of understanding and chemistry, math, etc. My teachers tried, but there's only so much you can do.
Of course.
So that was just an added layer of difficulty, I think.
Wow. And you're right now you're in your first year, right?
Hmm.
Are you in person on
Yes,
campus?
completely.
So that must be a
Yeah,
nice, refreshing change of pace. Do you
it
feel
definitely
like
is.
the pandemic really hampered your progress, or are things going fairly well?
I think I continued to progress linearly throughout the pandemic, but it was much more difficult, like mentally, I
Hmm.
think, to keep myself motivated and upright. But things like this scholarship, and other scholarships, and um, just application based things to look forward to for university kind of helped me get through the brunt of the pandemic, because I was at that turning point of I'm about to enter adulthood, university. So
Hmm.
I had that. Um, but yeah,
Let's talk about work, jobs.
okay.
Did you have part-time jobs while in high school?
Yeah, I had quite a few. I'll have some trouble trying to remember in chronological order, but
That's okay. Let me help you out. What was your first
thank you.
job and when?
Okay, so my first job I got when I was 13 years old. It was in Canamore Orchard. So Canamore is about a 10-15 minute drive from Russell. Um, and I was an actress. So it's a spooky wagon ride attraction, and I was a witch. I had lines that I memorized, and I would float around sometimes hanging on a cable. Uh, so, I mean, in terms of transferring skills, I'm not sure how helpful that'll be in medicine, but
Being an
I
actor?
loved
I don't
it.
know. I think being an actor is a very useful skill
Okay, yeah.
always.
Hmm.
The which part I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
okay. And so you've had more than one job throughout high school.
Yeah, yeah. I did Canamore Orchard every fall for 3 years, but like within that period, I also started working at various restaurants, like St. Hubert and Castleman, for example, was my ninth grade job, and then in the 10th and 11th grade, I moved towards a grocery store in Russell just because of convenience. I've worked at a catering company in Embrun. I'm still close with them and come back when I can. Cayenne Cuisine,
Oh yeah, I know them.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're an amazing small business. So I feel very connected to that portion of my grade 12. They brought me a lot of happiness throughout the pandemic too. Yeah, and more importantly, not more importantly, but more specific to where I'm going, I worked at St. Jacques Nursing Home in Embrun, which
Okay.
was my bedside table manner job,
Mm,
my doctor job. That's what I call it.
okay.
But yeah, yeah, that was tough during a pandemic too.
Right. Of course. How did you
Hmm.
manage how'd you manage all that? Like did you have a lot of hours? What was it like for you
Yeah.
to keep excelling at school and giving it the attention it deserves and working as much as possible in a variety of different jobs and contexts? How did
Hmm.
you manage that? What was it like?
So I'm a list person. I'm a calendar person. If I
Ha.
wasn't, I think I'd spontaneously combust on the first day of my existence
Hmm.
because it is a lot. But I think I just do the day by day thing. That being said, I've definitely taken on way too much, more than once, and it's come at a big cost to my health and well being. So I think the harder thing of the two, the other one being managing all of it, is knowing my limitations and going like, hey, you're not doing this, you're not taking this shift tonight, like go home. So that one's harder for me, but I think that as I work on setting those boundaries, I'm becoming even more efficient. So
Well, you gotta try and break those if you're gonna learn where they are and to set them
yeah,
properly. So,
exactly.
y-
Yeah.
yeah, that happens. And what about school now? Are you juggling work and school now as well?
Well, like I've always dreamed as a kid, I worked throughout high school so I wouldn't have to work now. I'm not working a part-time job. I'm financially in a place where I don't have to.
Excellent.
Um, so I'm just focusing on school, but I do work part-time, about like 20 hours a week right now with the Sexual Assault Center in Kingston, which is a new volunteering gig that I've become involved with. So I'm a crisis line volunteer with them.
So you're volunteering right now.
Yes, yeah, I'm volunteering.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're so 20 hours a week?
Yeah, it's about that. It changes every week depending on how many like shifts I take. But
That's
yeah.
very generous of you with your time. How how do you manage all this? You've been in school for a few months now, right? You started
Yeah.
in September. This is your first year. So, how are you finding all that, like the time management? Do you
It's
find
really
it's
hard.
yeah, is it getting harder and harder or
Um,
stable?
yeah, I think in the beginning it was, all right, I could get used to this, just the
Mhm.
school thing, and then you add volunteering and my friends moved to opposite sides of the country. So I think it really started to pile on, especially a couple weeks ago. I found myself feeling pretty like, uh, you know,
Right.
unnerved just doing my homework and then going to bed every single day. It definitely adds up. So I think, like you said, I have to break those boundaries to realize where those limitations are. And university is a really good starting point for breaking your mental and physical boundaries.
Yeah, it is. For
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely.
But again, calendars and lists. I could show you my OneNote page. It's yeah, an organizational wonder.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Proud of it.
Yeah, I am.
Any surprises after let's say 3 months? 3 months in
Hmm.
university. I'm
Yeah.
sure you had expectations,
Hmm.
and we always do that. We kind of try to imagine what something is going to be like in order to better prepare ourselves. Do you find you've done a good job of anticipating what it was going to be like preparing, or are there a lot of surprises or things you didn't expect?
Yeah. Good question. So for me, I think the opposite of what I expected happened. Academically, I feel very prepared, and I feel, even though the schoolwork is a lot, that I can get through it, and I'm doing well so far. But socially, which was the part that I thought would be the no-brainer, easy, just go out, make friends, join clubs. That's been the part that's stumping me as harder. I like realize I'm so busy and I'm so consumed with other things that I'm really not putting myself out there like I thought would be natural and easy, even though I'm like a people person or whatever. So I'm having difficulty making friends in the sense that I'm not going out to make them.
Hmm.
So that's my next little goal, I think.
If only there was a way to manufacture extra time.
I know, yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
because
really nice.
yeah, that challenge you're describing to me sounds more like a running out of time challenge than a
Hmm.
social challenge.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's easy to have a social life in university. It's just, you'll stumble upon it accidentally,
Hmm.
but it requires time and investment
Hmm.
for sure.
For
So,
sure.
what what's the next step for you professionally? After
Um,
what are you aiming for after your first, let's say your first semester? Next semester, anything planned? What are you planning on doing?
hmm. I think that I'm going to survive through this semester,
Ah,
and then I'm going to very much enjoy Christmas break. Maybe put some attention into like volunteer opportunities next semester.
mm,
But I'm really happy with where I'm at with the center. Academically, I have my courses. I'm enrolled in them, and I'm just ready to bring it on, I guess. I don't know what else I can say. I don't have anything else on the agenda for the next year other than school. I traveled last summer because I had to get the COVID out of my bones and
mm-hmm.
the being, you know,
Oh
held
yeah.
in hostage in my house out. So I did that, but I can't do that again next summer. So I'll probably do summer school.
Oh yeah. Try to get
Yeah,
a yeah. All right. That's not a bad
yeah,
idea. And
yeah.
what's your ideal plan? We're going to circle back to the scholarship, the job succession scholarship a
Yeah, sure.
bit. And what is your ideal end game? Let's say school went well, you accomplished what
Mhm.
you set out to do, and the plan sticks. You're planning on coming back here, Prescott-Russell, your hometown or close to it.
Yeah.
Where would you like to work, or what kind of job would you like to have? Like your ideal scenario. Paint me a
Yeah.
picture.
Okay, so luckily, not luckily, I chose the career for a reason. There's a lot of versatility in the physician lifestyle, in that you can have a job and then you can also do other things as
Yeah.
a doctor. So, what I seek to do is kind of support the nursing homes in Prescott-Russell the way that I've seen that they aren't supported,
Mm-hmm.
simply because of like there's not enough doctors
Yeah.
there. Everybody's trying, but there's not enough doctors. So I thought if I could supplement that by being like a locum or I'm trying to think of the word that isn't locum, but a doctor that travels around to different clinics. I'll just say that the different nursing homes and make sure that they're getting like their prescriptions filled and checked and getting the orders that they need, because that's the biggest complaint from nurses is that the doctors don't respond fast enough, because it'll be like one doctor doing all of the clinics in Prescott-Russell with maybe another, so not everyone's on the same page. So I think my ideal would be I'm a doctor helping out in that case in Prescott-Russell, and then maybe have my own clinic or have my own closer to full-time position that's more firm, um, like in an actual like legitimate building, if that makes sense.
It does. Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good plan. And
Yeah.
how did you hear about the scholarship? For people out there, high school students that might be in
Mhm.
a similar place you were a few years ago,
Yes.
who are
Mhm.
in love with the place where they grew up and want to come back, kind of have a career plan.
Mhm.
Let's help them out. How did you hear about that?
So I think just seeing like my school advertise their own students that got it, I think 2 years before I did,
Oh,
was like the spark, and then matched with my insanity young in high school, Googling things for hours. Like I think I knew every residence building name in all of Ontario for all universities by the age of 15.
mm,
Not sure if there's an award for that, but
we'll see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that that's pretty much it. Just pay attention to what other people are doing, because maybe you'd be interested in something similar.
Yeah, and it might come with a financial incentive, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's definitely needed for a lot of people too. Most people can't get through university without help. I mean, it's
Obviously, yeah.
rare.
It's
Yeah,
very expensive.
it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any
Hmm.
words of wisdom you would like to share to future cohorts who, yeah,
Mm,
people who have an idea, have a plan,
yeah.
something maybe you've learned when you started high school and had an objective in mind, and you basically learned how to slowly but surely move
Hmm.
towards it.
For sure. I think that harder than any assignment in high school, harder than any academic thing that could be thrown at you is two things: finding your place in high school, which takes way more energy than it should. I don't know why high school breeds depression, but it just seems to. And bullying and stuff like that. If you can get through that, if you can find a few friends that are solid and consistent, and then secondly, if you can deal with teachers sometimes, or other social barriers that may lead you to convince yourself that you aren't like ready or you aren't set for sciences. This is kind of a problem that I saw quite a bit, where people would be told like by their teachers that they aren't equipped with what it takes to go into science, which I think is such a fallacious notion. It shouldn't be like that. Like, I
Sounds
think
lazy.
it sounds very lazy. It sounds like if you don't fit within this mold of how I'm comfortable teaching,
Right.
I don't think university is right for you. We'll move you down to college. And I wonder now, and it scares me, how many people were pushed down that way that really do have an aptitude for this kind of stuff, because I didn't think I did.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have what I have, which is like, no,
Mhm.
I'm going to do what I want, which is just, I was born that way. There's lots of other people who reasonably don't have that.
Mm. That's a
That, you know,
very interesting point. And yeah, that you know what, that's true. It probably happens more than we think, and
yeah, it's sad.
it's very sad irony to it, considering that one of the things we've heard the most in the past year or two is we need more doctors,
Nurses
nurses,
are quitting
doctors,
right and
healthcare
left.
professionals, right? We need them. So
Yes.
maybe we should get better at teaching it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not
Yeah.
all about post-secondary education and the choices
Mm-hmm.
we make. It starts early.
Exactly. And there's a lot of fear, I think, that's propelled on students by the teachers. It's like a lot of playing with fear, at
Mm,
least where I came from. Universities will fail you if you do this. If you don't cite your sources in MLA, you should be going to college because you aren't ready for this. And you get here, you'll get docked the marks, and you'll go okay, and then you'll do better. And it's no different than
mhm.
high school, in the sense that you do your work, you get feedback. Hopefully it's good. If it's not, you have to try some harder. And then you just keep going. I don't see what the big deal is. Like, I
Right.
don't see why these kids can't just try it. I think that
Yeah.
a lot of kids definitely slip through the cracks because of that
Mm.
method of teaching.
Yeah, maybe they just need to meet the right teacher. I remember when I finished high school, I had a fairly high average, like in the
Yeah.
to upper 80s, let's say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I did pretty well. So
Hmm.
I went to university very confident because
Hmm.
I put in the work, but not that much in high school. I
Yes.
don't put in work when I don't have to. I'm that kind of
Hmm. Exactly.
this managed laziness, I like to call it. And so got to university, did my first midterm exam, and failed.
Hmm.
I failed. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. This
I
was the
know. Yeah.
first time it happened to me, and the professor came to me after, and he saw how demoralized I was, and we talked for a
Hmm.
bit, and he said, next time, do this, do that, don't do this, try that. And I did. I ended up passing that course. It wasn't
Really good.
spectacular, but I
Hmm.
did. So I think you should be aware as a high school student that, yeah, it might be tough, and you
Hmm.
might encounter teachers that don't think or work the way you do. But
Yeah.
everyone's human, and if you're a good communicator, you might actually make it out alive and well.
For sure. For
So
sure. Yeah.
those are the small lessons I feel that are neglected or dropped sometimes.
Hmm.
If you believe in something and you want to do something, there are always 10,000 ways to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't think that it's fair to see arts as a backup to science. Like, what a toxic mentality that is, too,
Mm.
that you're not truly interested in the arts. You're not passionate about psychology, philosophy. Truly, you can't get an A in biology, so you're going the arts route. Like, the way it's talked about is really sort of stigmatized, in the
Mhm.
sense that, like, science is here, arts is here, and then college. Like, that's how it's talked about in schools.
Right.
So it's unfortunate because, if I could talk to myself in high school, I'd say like, all that means nothing. What do you like? What do you like? Yes, I know you can't do physics. I understand, but what do you like? And then I would just go with that. And that's kind of what I've done, and it's worked for me. So hopefully that could be some piece of advice to anybody else thinking,
It's
what
good
the hell do I
advice.
do? Thank you.
Doesn't matter if it takes you longer than another person to accomplish what you want. It might,
Yeah.
but so what? Are you
Hmm.
enjoying the journey?
Yeah,
So what's the
exactly. You have to
problem?
live.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's
Hmm.
a great observation and great way to look at it.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would like to end with? Maybe a shout out if you're volunteering, right? Are they
Oh,
looking for
yeah.
volunteers?
Not looking for volunteers right now because they took quite a bit on, but I would love if people looked into the center.
What's it
Um,
called?
yeah, so it's the Sexual Assault Center of Kingston, and they provide quite a few services, but the most popular are the crisis line
Right.
and the chat line.
Yeah.
So anybody can text and chat the text line, and then call the crisis line where they'll be matched with someone like me or another crisis line volunteer who's trauma informed, ready to help. And also calls from Ottawa and stuff are actually typically sent there too. So we cover a wide ground. It's not just Kingston, and there's a lot of fundraising and stuff. So if people are interested in getting involved or donating, that would be awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time today. And I wish
Thank you.
you best of luck and good luck with your exams. They're probably coming up very soon.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have said that. No,
Well,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah, might as well
It's
face
part of the job.
reality.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. And yeah, best of luck on your first year and have a great, great career path.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And yeah, best of luck.
Awesome.